meaning after the first 8 to 12 months and every year after that, the bare bottom is likely to avoid all kinds of issues and be a lot easier. A little effort and patience on the front end pays off in the long term. However, much more than that, it's literally impossible to provide the kind of flow that they want to put in a tank that has sand. It's their team's assertion that flow is more important than a vast majority of system design elements, including lighting. Flow is the #1 most critical component for an SPS coral's biological process. Very flow just not only serving as a pumping mechanism for biological processes within the coral tissue, but also ridding itself from excess CO2, harmful byproducts of photosynthesis like oxidants, and gas exchange or element transfer through the coral's boundary layer. In the end, there's a close relationship between lighting, flow, and nutrient availability. If you scale one up, there'll be even more benefit if you scale the others up with it. And sometimes one can be a limiting factor or even harmful if it's not scaled up with the others. In this case, I would say increasing lighting intensity or length of the photo period will almost always be even more successful if flow is properly scaled up with it. So how much flow is enough? Reefers often say things like 30 to 50x turnover, but we're seeing a lot of people go 70 to 100 these days. Keep in mind that today's implementation rarely has all pumps turned on to max all at once. So pumps on a wave maker or DC pump are capable of 70 to 100x turnover, are much more likely producing 35 to 50 at any given point. Half the pumps are either off or in the low flow position. So I think it's important to note here that there are obviously tons of successful SPS dominant tanks out there with sand, many of which I'd also call dream tank quality, including WWC 293, which has sand and much less flow. No one would call this the wrong way to do this, and almost anyone would be ecstatic with the results. However, while the 293 mixed tank is an amazing tank, if you look at the SPS coloration and growth of this tank versus the higher flow and power bare bottom 500 SPS tank right next to it, there's no question there's a large incremental increase in coloration in both the 500 and 900. I would also say almost every commercial facility that I run into where caring for these animals goes beyond just a hobby, and the growth and coloration results are also financially motivated. Almost all of them are going bare bottom with near ridiculous amounts of flow. Very few of them are focused on perfecting lighting, but most are always perfecting flow. Outside of that, there are a few other simple elements related to filtration, the use of carbon to remove color pigments, organics and other contaminants from the tank, filter pads or socks to remove undesirable waste, and floating particulates from the water. These pads are changed out 2 times a week, which matches some data from BRTV investigates on how frequently the filter socks and pads do need to be changed to be effective. They also run easy-to-access recirculating external skimmers to remove excess waste as well as promote increased gas exchange. Preference being AC pump skimmers because they are more reliable. WWC has expressed a particular fondness of the Super Reef and SRO line of skimmers from Bathyphilus, which use the AC bubble blaster pumps. They just work and last a long time without consistent need of maintenance, something that the VRS team and I agree with entirely. Somewhat related to filtration is a cycle. Most reefers are in search for an instant tank. Get water and corals into it as soon as possible, which can certainly be done. But WWC is a firm believer in long cycles for SPS tanks, at least a 4-month cycle, 3 months of which is done without light. Cycle here meaning more than just a fish cycle, but meaning something more inclusive to the entire biological process happening in the tank, which is going to make it more stable for sensitive animals like SPS corals. You can argue that it can be done faster, but I think almost everyone will agree that initial success rates increase linearly with the length of the cycle. Throughout the series, we have seen some mentions in the comments that no one would have that kind of patience, and a 4-month cycle is just too long. I would like to just point out that we're not talking about an average first tank here. SPS corals are amongst the most sensitive and receive the most benefit from tank stability. So I think the 4 months, 3 months without light is a good recommendation for most reefers looking to start a new SPS tank and ensure the highest success rates. Frankly, some might even recommend longer, particularly if you're going bare bottom. Next, looking at lighting, this is an interesting topic because it's probably one of the most debated topics and one of the elements of breeding that the most reefers are having the most mortalities and catastrophic failures with. Yet at the same time, this was and should be one of the easiest things on the entire tank. That's because all that's required to be successful here is a highly diffused light source that covers a wide area of light with the right spectrum. It's as simple as plugging a bank of proven T5s or halide bulbs with proper reflectors into the wall and walking away. This is what the WWC team relied on for a very long time. There's no question that the T5s and the halides met their simple and stable approach goals. However, the lighting conversation has largely changed from how do I provide proper light to the reef tank, which was pretty easy, to how do I use LEDs to light a reef tank. Note the not so subtle difference there. One is how do I support the biological need for my corals, and the other is how do I use one very specific technology to do this. Unless you own stock in LED companies, that might not be the wisest approach, especially because the nature of LEDs is they're small, compact light sources, which is pretty far from the highly diffused, very difficult to shadow, even light source for a vast majority of reef tanks we're using prior to using LEDs. That said, LEDs come with all kinds of advantages: dimming, limited heat, energy efficiency, no bulb changes, they're low profile, compact, and attractive, the phonaps, slider bars, all kinds of cool features which mean LEDs are here to stay and certainly the future. It's pretty easy to implement them for most types of tanks. It's how to use them for high-density SPS tanks. That's an important note. It's a lot easier to use LEDs on a mixed tank or other tank types because even coverage and shadowing just isn't as big of an issue as it is with an SPS dominant tank like these, particularly if your goal is to grow larger density packs, SPS colonies, which at the 2 to 3 year mark don't shadow their neighbors and also don't shadow themselves. So the WWC team feels exactly the same. They want the advantages of the LEDs, but the goal isn't to use LEDs at all costs. It's to light the tank properly and use technology to do it in a manner which meets their simple and stable goals. Their solution is to use the T5 Radion LED hybrid at both the 500 and 900 SPS tanks using LEDs as the primary light, then using the T5s as the fill light in between them to eliminate shadows, hot spots, and support proper growth. They also raise the lights up to 1.5 feet to nearly 2 feet above the tank, which is double to triple the 8-inch height that most reefers are mounting them on at home. Mounting the LEDs that high not only evens the intensity out over a larger area, but allows the spectrum from the individual LEDs to blend together into something more cohesive. They then use a par meter to tune all of this, so the par is largely in the 150 to 350 par range for the morning, and then slightly lower for the rest of the day. There was no universe where they were going to turn on all of this light, slide the sliders until it looks good to the eye, and then call it a day. There's just too much invested in these tanks to rely on guesses and luck. On the mixed reef 293, where we're balancing the SPS corals with the LPS corals, the story is a bit different. On this tank, they went LED only with diffused Radion XR15s, still mounted higher than most, but still close to the water surface in the SPS tanks, spaced properly over the tank, then tuned to a lower par range. This mixed tank style with less densely packed SPS tanks just has a more limited lighting demand and in some ways easier to light properly, but the par range is still controlled and done via a par meter, not just flipping switches and guessing. This is a pretty critical point to understand here because there are 20 times as many mixed tanks out there than there are high-density SPS tanks. This grid of 6 XR15s on nearly a 300-gallon tank is producing awesome results for a wide range of corals. I would note that by using 6 XR15s rather than 3 XR30s, we're able to spread the light out over a larger area, but at the same cost. The WWC team did share with me that if this tank was going to be transitioned to a high-density SPS-only tank, they would add a third row of XR15s to raise the lights up a bit, or attempt to add some T5 for fill light. So all that said, since most of today's lighting solutions are really not just plug and play anymore, most of the reefers are reliant on instinct, research, and trial and error, often with a few expensive mortalities, or buying a par meter. That $400 to $500 a par meter is really out of the question for most reefers. Double so, because you might only use it for a couple weeks. As long as you have the ability to plug it into a Windows laptop or PC, the Sumbu and USB Apogee is a much more affordable option at about $200 from that to PMK at $300. But even at that price, it's pretty high. Because I'm trying to get the team here to find a way to rent handheld Apogee meters, which are the easiest to use and make proper lighting setup more available to the average reefer. Maybe all of you could share in the comments or read the retreads if you would value the ability to rent a meter like this. Really, most people are only going to need a meter for a few weeks to tweak some settings, watch how the tank responds, and get it right. Hopefully, a low-cost rental service like this could make it more accessible to more reefers. I don't want to present a power meter as 100% critical, but with LEDs and newer to intermediate reefers, success rates will skyrocket. We're lighting the tanks intelligently with a defined goal rather than just guessing. Moving on to how the WWC team to approach chemistry. They don't get too fancy, they keep it simple and stable above all else. A DK to 8.6, calcium at 480, and magnesium at 1440. There's no rocket science to these levels. They're just designed to be a bit elevated, which allows for the inevitable mistakes over time. For instance, it is pretty easy for an SPS system to drop a full DKH in a single day if something goes wrong, and it will eventually, so that 8.6 DKH keeps you away from that danger level of dropping below 7. In the end, I don't think there's any sound science if these levels are going to answer the unicorn hunt of best or perfect levels. There's no denying the result. If you maintain these levels stably, I think most reefers will universally agree that major element chemistry will not prevent success with your tank. These levels are maintained with a calcium reactor, partially with Brightwell's magnesium P in all 3 tanks, partially because a calcium reactor is the most cost-effective solution for tanks this size, but also because the calcium reactors presumably replenish various minor and trace elements. In that spirit, the approach to maintaining all of the minor and trace elements is just the calcium reactor and 10 to 15% water changes weekly. Presumably, some elements are partially depleted this way, and the team does acknowledge that there may be some benefit to maintaining minor and trace elements more precisely, but they also don't want to play mad scientists with dozens of trace element bottles, and that process would deviate drastically from their keep it simple and stable approach. In the end, I tend to agree that that is simple and stable. The approach is more likely to produce 10-year successful tanks just because it is simple and harder to mess up catastrophically. Moving on to coral nutrition, often referred to as nutrients in reefing. I have to say, it's pretty refreshing to discuss this with some like-minded individuals. Both of our teams dislike how the industry uses the word nutrients because in a vast majority of instances, that only means nitrate and phosphate to reefers. Well, nitrate and phosphate are nutrients. It's just a small part of the overall coral nutrition. The corals are capable of providing a vast majority of the energy they need from light and water alone. However, they do benefit from sources of protein, building blocks of proteins, amino acids, as well as nitrogen and phosphorus. This is going to be a much longer conversation in a future episode, but the WWC team doesn't spend a lot of time concerning themselves with nitrate and phosphate. Other than they do like to keep it under around 20 parts per million nitrate and 0.1 parts per million phosphate. Step with those numbers as a goal.